Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome. My name's Randy. I love everything crochet, and today we'll be making this friendly guy. This is a Yeti plushie tutorial, and I would say if you have I would say he's like relatively beginner friendly. I wouldn't say he's like first project friendly, but I would say if you have like some experience with the sewing, because obviously you have to sew to attach his legs and his little horns here. But other than that, I would say he's pretty beginner friendly. You can use the fluffy yarn that I use, which I'll link down below, or you can use whatever yarn you like because that's the beauty of crochet. So before I get started, if you love crochet, you should follow my Instagram, which is always linked down below, as well as subscribe to my channel. I have plenty of crochet videos coming out for you guys, as well as I have a lot of content on my Instagram. If you just want to see pictures of them, that's there too. But let's go ahead and get started. Also, I always forget to say this because I know a lot of people give names to their crochet items, and eventually, hopefully in the new year, I will be releasing physical patterns for stuff as well. I wanted to do it at the end of this year, but I just don't have time. But what do you think his name should be? Go ahead and put ideas down in the comments down below. I had bought this yarn for another project and I didn't actually need much of it. So I had so much left of it. This is just from Amazon. I don't know where else you can order it. It's like a nice long fur yarn. It's very similar to Hobby Yarn's peacock yarn. Very repetitive, but I've been wanting to make a Bigfoot, a Yeti, and I said this is the perfect yarn to make a Yeti with. So that's what we'll be doing today, and which you already saw in the start of this video, but I filmed this first. Now to preface, I always use single stitch, the stitch I use is always single stitch unless I say otherwise, which for this project, 99% sure I'll use single stitch all the way through it. So there is that. We'll go ahead and get started by making our magic ring. I always have to do 4 for my starting chain, and I'm also using a 5mm hook for this. This yarn shockingly recommends like a 4 to 5mm, which is surprising, but I'm using a 5. I'll probably switch hooks partway through this project because I do not like this hook. I lost my original 5mm hook. It's somewhere in my house, but I cannot find it. I bought this at Michael's because it's one of those ergonomic hooks, so I was like, oh, this is better for me. I hate it. So I reordered a 6-pack of my favorite hooks since 5mm is my favorite. I use it for most of my plush. Now, once I get, okay, I do have 2 loops on. This is definitely not, this yarn is definitely not one you'd want to use for fluffy yarn for the first time because let me show you. You cannot see anything, especially with the white. It all very much so blends together. I've used a lot of fluffy yarn, and this is probably one of the more difficult ones. But we'll go ahead and mark our stitch. We'll find the center, and we're gonna do, I think we need 8 stitches into the center. That's 3, 4, once I find the center again, 5, actually, I think I only need 6, because the tail here is in the way. So, actually, we'll go ahead, so this is my starting stitch. We'll go ahead and do 8. And yes, if you are looking at this and saying, I can't see any of your stitches, you are correct. I cannot either. When I use fluffy yarn, I do mostly by feel, so it is a little hard to show you guys, but I swear there is a circle in here somewhere. And we'll remove our stitch marker and we'll will do 2 stitches in every stitch. That is a term I will use for this video. When we're increasing, I'll say 2 stitches into 1 stitch, which means you go into that stitch and do a single stitch, then go back into that same stitch and do another single stitch, just so I can short form this for you guys and not have this video be an hour long. The great thing about fluffy yarn though, and just like crocheting in general, is if there's no stitch there, you cannot get in there. So that makes it easy. Make sure you do, if you are using this yarn, make sure you do your stitches nice and loose, because it makes crocheting into them so much easier and finding them so much easier. So this row we'll do double stitches, 2 stitches into every stitch all the way around, so you should have 16 stitches in total. And then last 2. And then we're going to go back into our first stitch here, which I sometimes don't even remove the stitch marker so I can know, so I don't lose it. Oops. And we're going to do 2 stitches into the first. Once I mark it, 2 stitches into the first, and then a single stitch, then 2 stitches in the next, then a single stitch here, and I'm going to repeat that all the way around. For the next round, we'll put 2 stitches in the first, then a single stitch, then another single stitch, then 2 stitches into the next, then 1, 2, repeating that all the way around. For the next round, we'll put 2 stitches in the first, then 1, 2, 3, 2 stitches in the next, 1, 2, 3, repeating all the way. For the next round, put 2 stitches in the first, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 stitches in the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, repeating that all the way around. Put 2 stitches in the first, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 2 stitches in the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, repeating all the way around. Put 2 stitches in the first, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 stitches in the next, 6, all the way. For the next round, you put 2 stitches in the first, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 stitches in the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, repeating all the way around. I also did want to share a clip now that I'm a little further in. You can see the stitches are visible now. This yarn is, like I was saying, very difficult because the first, like, probably 3 or 4 rounds are incredibly difficult when you do your magic ring. It's difficult when you do like the first 2 or 3 after that, but once you get further along, the stitches are visible and a lot easier to use. That's why it's very important, if you do choose to use this yarn, to make your stitches nice and loose at the beginning, because you can feel them and then now you can see them. Alright, so after that last round, we are going to stay the same, so we're just going to put a single stitch in every stitch all the way around. I wanted to kind of show you guys also the difference in the look of this yarn. I think I love this side of the yarn, which will be my outside, but this is kind of like what it looks like while you're working with it. It just looks to me very drastically different, and I kind of love that about this yarn, that it has such like a diverse look to it, that you could either get kind of like the classic smooth, or you can almost have like this wiry look to it. But single stitch in every stitch all the way around. I will count out how many rounds I do, and then I'll let you know how many I did. I'm almost through round 15 and I ran out of yarn on my first skein, so I'm going to add my second skein and keep going. We are pretty close to being done with the head / body, but not quite yet. So I'll keep going, but I am currently at 15 rows or rounds if you are somebody who's actually using this yarn and want to gauge on how much you'll need. I am 18 rounds into my staying the same. I'm pretty close to like where I'm going to start reducing, but I figured we needed to add some detailings. I want to add little horns on him. I think that would be very cute. And I think he would look good with a little bit of yellow. So this yellow is scrap yarn. I was going to use a different yarn, but then I saw this and I need to do something with this little bit of yarn. I made a Pikachu with this yarn, so if you are looking for a Pikachu tutorial, go check out my channel. I also had this black yarn from a project I did So I'm going to use that to make his smile. I'm using 14mm sized eyes, which I think actually looks perfect. And you can do the face however you like. That is the beautiful and wonderful thing about crochet, is you can customize anytime you follow like a YouTube guide or I haven't attached the eyes yet, but a YouTube guide or even following a pattern, you can still adjust it to make it your own. And I love that. So I'm going to do about right there. Hopefully do straight across. It's kind of hard with like fluffy yarn to know if you're that's kind of the face I was going for. I might add like dimples. But I am going to do little horns. You don't have to do little horns if you don't want to, because like I was just talking about, that's the beautiful thing about crochet, is you can customize it. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I already made the first one, so I can kind of have an idea of how I want it to look. It's going to sit like right there. So I started by doing a starting chain of 6. And then I did a single crochet row of 5. Once I find my stitch, there we go. Oops, sorry, I am not even in view right now. There we go. Not in view again. All right. Sorry, I've moved my camera from where I traditionally hold it, and then you reduce 2 stitches into 1, so you weave through you don't go into the first loop, but you weave through the second and third loop and pull through, and then weave through that one and the next one and pull through. And then we're going to flip our work and weave through our 2 and pull through. And then you have your little horns, which will sew like this and attach to his head. And let me decide if I want to like give him kind of like little dimples or not. All right, once all the face and everything is attached, so like I said, I did 18 rounds of staying the same. I am gonna go ahead and start reducing because I kind of want him to have like longer legs and stuff. So I'm going to go into my first stitch, then into my second stitch. I have a loop through each one, and I'm gonna reduce 2 stitches into 1. I'm gonna use that term a lot as we reduce. So when I say reduce 2 stitches into 1, that's exactly what I mean. And then we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're gonna reduce 2 stitches into 1. And then 6, repeating all the way around. For the next round, you'll reduce 2 into 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 into 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, repeating all the way around. 2 stitches in a 1, then a single stitch, 2 stitches in 1, then a single stitch, repeating all the way around. I went ahead and stuffed the Yeti, and now we're gonna turn 2 stitches into a single stitch, 2 stitches into a single stitch, 2 stitches in a single stitch, repeating all the way around. Next, I am just going to weave back and forth through here all the way back around to the stitch marker and pull the hole tight so we have a full body and head done. I already did one leg to kind of gauge how I want it to be. So we'll do the second leg here. And I just did a very simple leg where we started with a magic ring And then after the magic ring, we put 8 stitches into the center. Once you've done 8 stitches into the center, we'll go into our first stitch and put 2 stitches. And then we'll follow by doing 2 stitches in every stitch. So you should have a total of 16 stitches all the way around. And then after that, you will do 8 rounds of staying the same to make a nice leg for our Yeti. Now we're gonna do it slightly different for the arms because I want them to be skinny and long. And I find that when you do a magic ring that they're just naturally more, like they're a little chunkier. So I'm going to do my starting chain and I'm gonna do rows instead of rounds. Did a starting chain of 15 and then I'm going to do 8 rows of 14 stitches to get the arm, and then we'll fold it in half and stitch it from tip all the way around so you can then have kind of like long gangly arms. When attaching the arms, I kind of like to create a seam, kind of like if you were just like stitching up a clothing piece, because it makes them floppy. I also don't stuff my arms or typically my legs, which I won't this time as well. But yes, and I also like to pull them slightly forward on the plush, so I lined it up kind of with his horn here. So it's kind of forward, it's kind of at an angle, it gives him a little bit more character. That's just a personal preference. You are more than welcome to attach your arms and legs however you want. If you want to stuff your arms, you are more than welcome to do that. Once you assemble everything, you have a Yeti. He's actually pretty easy. Let me set it. I would say beyond the fluffy yarn part, like if you used a yarn you're comfortable with, if you're comfortable with fluffy yarn, then that's great too. I think he could be a relatively like beginner friendly, maybe not your first project because you do have to have like a good reference on like sewing and like the mouth and stuff like that. But I think this is a pretty good, like somewhat beginner friendly Yeti. I think he's so cute and very friendly. So yeah, there is like how he looks. I like I said, I did the legs the same way as the arms, so he kind of has like a floppy, like very cuddly look to him. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And like I said at the beginning, if you make him, please tag me in it on Instagram. Please send me a picture. I love to see it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye!